Well, good afternoon and welcome again to another live. And I'll just wait for a few to come on. Hello, Maddie Jo and Diane. Good afternoon. I almost said good morning. Lizanne, how are you, Lizanne? Mike from Wawa and Ann and Anita and Maddie Jo. Diane, good to have you on with us this morning. Peggy, this afternoon, see? Okay, and Beth. Okay, we got a very interesting time here. Karen and Kadeen and Nellie, good afternoon. Beth, how are you? Nice to have you on with us. Okay, we're going to talk about, I don't know if I call it a study, an observation. Rita and Terry and Bev, Jeanette, bonjour, Sue, good afternoon. I think you're going to find this very interesting. I'm going to try and explain this to you, exactly what happened. We're going to talk, I know you're sick of it, but we're going to talk about COVID. But we're not gonna get into any of the politics of it and the lockdowns or anything like that. I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm just gonna give you some data that you will find interesting. Some data that just came out, and these are taken from around the world, from the World Health Organization, and it's incredible. It's just incredible. So let me just go into this a little bit and how fascinating this is, okay? So we're going to talk, and this is from the World Health Organization, the relative risk of dying from COVID, okay? The relative risk of dying from COVID. If, this is number one, the number one cause of death from COVID, according to the World Health Organization, is a deficiency of, you already know the answer, vitamin D. If you're deficient in vitamin D, the relative risk of death from COVID is 15 times more likely if you are low in vitamin D. Now, I'm going to post these after, okay, on the private Facebook group. I'll post them because they're so fascinating. You know what second was? So 15 times more likely, vitamin D. We're going to go into that. I want to talk a little bit more about vitamin D. The second one, the second relative risk of death from COVID was old age. If you were old, that made you 9.45 times more likely to die from COVID. And that's where most of the outbreaks took place, right? In the old age home. Now imagine this, because this is often the case when people get older, especially, they are usually severely low in vitamin D. There's nobody testing them. It's not a routine test to get your dehydroxy 25 done, so they don't do it. As a matter of fact, in our province, in Ontario, usually, unless the doctor specifically says this is for osteoporosis, and we want to just see where your vitamin D levels are, you're going to have to pay for it out of your pocket. And for those who can afford it, I would tell you to pay for it out of your pocket. It shocks people a lot of times how low their vitamin D is. If you have dark skin, you even need more vitamin D than people with fair skin. So 15 times more likely to die of COVID if you are deficient in vitamin D. Now, you've heard me say this many a time. Vitamin D should be optimized, not just normal. Oh, doc, my vitamin D is normal. So what? Being normal is not good. Now, for this study, it is good. If you have normal vitamin D, you were 15 times less likely to die. They're talking about a severe deficiency here of vitamin D. And I tell you what, so you see, older people, why is it for them? Well, number one, they're old. Their immune system doesn't work like a young person's. And plus, they're highly more likely to be deficient in vitamin D. And then I'm going to shock you with the third one. But before I get to the third one, I'm going to shock you with this one. From the World Health Organization. Not from me. I got to come back to vitamin D and explain it to you. Like, what's vitamin D got to do with COVID? And isn't it interesting, guys? And, I'm probably preaching to the choir here today. And I know you've heard a little bit about vitamin D with COVID. But why, to me, and I'm not telling you not to get vaccinated. Don't come after me. I'm not telling you anything. You might have no choice but to be vaccinated. And that's a decision you make. I'm not making it for you. I'm just telling you that why on God's earth is not the government who is spending billions of dollars, billions, every government, billions and billions of dollars to try and jumpstart the economy. Can you imagine after this 28-day shutdown in Ontario and Quebec? I mean, the lights are out just about. I'd hate to own a small business. But they're trying to finance this. And can you imagine what just testing costs the government? Just testing for COVID. Never mind the vaccine. But why aren't they distributing vitamin D? Why aren't they in all the homes? Everyone getting, 2, 3, at least 2, 3, 4,000 IUs of vitamin D. To me, from what the research is showing, not my research, but the research is showing, it would be as effective as the vaccine or more. At least give it out. In school, give it to the kids. Give it to the teachers. Vitamin D. And I can't draw. You see this little thing here? Now, for those listening on a podcast, I tried to draw a cell, okay? But forget it, okay? I flunked art. And that part of my brain doesn't work, but that's all right. I mean, for the sake of an illustration, I just wanted to show you something. So you see, pretend this is a cell, okay? See that circle there? See the little arrows that are going up from the cell? I mean, you got billions of cells in your body, and every one of your cells have those, they're not arrows, they have little receptors. Solar panels for vitamin D. Now let me just share what happens here, okay? Let me share what happens. Now, I've told you in the past about vitamin D and T cells. What are T cells? T cells come out of your lymphatic system, okay? They come out of your lymphatics. They're Navy SEALs. They're the first ones to the infection. They're the Navy SEALs. They're called T cells. What we know about vitamin D is T cell activity does not work properly without vitamin D. So we know that even white blood cells, T cells, coming out of the lymphatic system, do not work properly. Their batteries are not charged very well unless they have vitamin D. I brought to you. I've given you that teaching before. Why would you want vitamin D? Because your immune system won't work properly. So that's one way it works. It elevates and charges up your T cells. Your T cells are your Navy SEALs. When they see a virus, when they see bacteria, when they see a parasite, when they see a cancer cell, your T cells are activated. Now, but coming back to the illustration, on the cell wall, you got the little receptors for vitamin D. There's solar panel. They're looking for vitamin D. But the other thing, when a virus comes, the coronavirus, COVID-19, the virus, okay, SARS-2, when it comes in to infiltrate the cell wall, that's what viruses do. They infiltrate the cell. But if you have high levels of vitamin D, your cell wall won't allow the virus to come in. The door's locked and it has a seal, a coating. The vitamin D, it takes a peptide, a protein peptide, and it coats the cell wall so the virus can't even get in. So not only does vitamin D work with your T cells, your white blood cells, they work with your other cells. Not only they protect, they virus-proof the cell, your body cell. Don't you think vitamin D is the most important? You know what? People have told me about vitamin C. Doc, I take vitamin C for a cold. I don't care if you do. Vitamin C for me is coffee. But if you want to take vitamin C, the other vitamin C I call it, okay, good for you. But you only missed out on one letter in the alphabet. You missed out on vitamin D. And the studies on vitamin D are absolutely incredible. It's incredible. Let me get back to the statistics on COVID that you won't hear in the mainstream media, but you're hearing it here today. This should be major news. We have a breakthrough in COVID. We have a breakthrough. It's called vitamin D, but you won't hear it. Now, they're saying a little bit like, yeah, maybe, and we got to study it more. And, you know what that means when they say we need to study it more? It's brought to you by the pharmaceutical industry who can't make 1 red cent from vitamin D and because they can't patent it. So guess what? It's set aside. It's set aside. As it's worthless. Maybe a little bit. Yeah, give Granny a little bit of vitamin D, maybe. This is breakthrough research. In Dubai, I just want to read you another study. A COVID study in Dubai. What they were doing, if someone was presenting themselves to the hospital with COVID, they were giving them 300,000 international units of vitamin D in one shot. They give them a shot of vitamin D, 300,000 IUs. Then, for the next 7 days, they gave them 7,000 IUs. There was a sharp decline in hospitalizations and a sharp decline in intensive care for COVID in Dubai. Why didn't I get any ink? Why is it that I've got to even tell you about that? You would think that CNN and CBS and all the news outlets would be pumping this like big time. But they're not. You got to go and do some deep research to find this stuff. But you have to admit one thing with me. I've been very consistent on vitamin D. Very consistent. And I know it's a fat-soluble vitamin, but it's not even a vitamin, really. Do you want to, they classify it as a vitamin, guys, it's a hormone. It's, you can't live without vitamin D. Well, you won't live very long. And you won't live very well without vitamin D. In the sun. And when you can't get the sun, you got to take it. There's nobody on the planet that shouldn't be taking some vitamin D. Well, especially in this day and age. Especially with COVID. But you're not going to hear about it. You've got to do your own research and hopefully you're using what I tell you. 15 times more likely to die if you have a severe deficiency of vitamin D. Second, old age. And everybody knows that. Old age. I was kind of laughing because, I was talking about, we've got to get, what I like about the governor in Florida? He said that all of the vaccines are going to the seniors first. First responders and doctors and nurses, of course. But he said after that, you cannot get a vaccine. You can't get in line ahead of anybody in Florida because the governor said it's for people 65, is it 65 or 70? 65 years of age and old. If you're not 65, you can't get a vaccine yet in Florida. You can't even pay for it. But he said, I want to protect the most vulnerable. Well, he's right. Should be giving out vitamin D too. Anyways. Okay, here's the third one I want to shock you. It actually shocked me. The third relative risk of death of COVID. First, D, vitamin D. Second, old age. The third is you're 5 times more likely to die if you have a lack of selenium. Now, be honest. Was there anybody thinking that, because I bet you some of you were thinking zinc, right? Zinc. Because that's been in the news. Probably not for the last couple of months. But remember in the spring last year or whatever, that zinc with vitamin D. Remember? So some of you might have been thinking zinc. Well, not according to the statistic from the World Health Organization. 15 times more likely to die of COVID if you're deficient in vitamin D. Almost 10 times if you're old, 9.45. And 5 times more likely if you're low in selenium. You know what selenium is? It's a mineral. You know where you find it? Eggs and meat. It's not in the plant kingdom. Oh, I think you can get a little bit in a Brazilian nut. Cover your bases, guys. Cover your bases. Eat steak. How many times I got to tell you? You don't have to take selenium if you eat meat and eggs. It's not in cheese. But a lot of good things are in cheese too, because why do I say eggs, meat, and cheese all the time? Eggs, meat, and cheese. Selenium. You're 5 times more likely to die of COVID if you're low in selenium. Holy moly. Did you know that? Unless somebody read the same statistics that I'm reading, you wouldn't have known that. I don't think you would have guessed that. Well, maybe you guys are pretty smart, so maybe you did. It shocked me. And then I'm going to give you some other things, okay? I'm going to give you some other things. 4th on the hit parade, if you have high blood pressure, now I knew this. I thought it was higher than that, but it's 4. It's number 4. Hypertension. If you have high blood pressure, you were 4.5 times more likely to die of COVID. I thought it was higher than that. Number 5, diabetes. If you were a diabetic, you're 4.43 times more likely to die of COVID. Metabolic syndrome. I talk about it all the time. Fatty liver, fatty tummy, high triglycerides, low HDL. That's metabolic syndrome. You're messed up metabolically. A lot of people are. You were 3.5 times more likely to die of COVID. Obesity. 3 times more likely to die. There's your top 7. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that I mean, this is it's earth-shattering news. Now, if you want me to get very specific, we already did a little bit of a dive onto vitamin D. But let me tell you something else. That if you see the reset, and I talked about it in our book. I put my book now. I thought I had a copy here. Yeah, I do. Okay. The book. I talked about this. By the way, top seller, Canada. Thank you very much. If you haven't got that book, you got to get that book. And not because I wrote it, because you're going to learn a lot of stuff in there. I talked about COVID in there. That's how new the book is. I talked about the elephant in the room. Because what the statistics that I just read to you don't take into effect. Okay? They don't take this into effect. But I do. Because, okay, so vitamin D, we'll put over there. Old age, we put over there. But selenium, high blood pressure, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and obesity, the next 5, all has to do with food. You see? All has to do with food. Because high blood pressure is not a lack of high blood pressure pills. It's not. That's not what the cause of it is. Oh, I got high blood pressure because I'm not on medication. That's not high blood pressure. You get high blood pressure mostly, the vast majority of high blood pressure comes from your kidneys. And your kidneys will give you high blood pressure when they're stressed from your diet of eating too much sugar and crappy carbohydrates. And we've proven to thousands of people that when you change your diet, and remember where I come from. I'm always talking about lowering one thing, so it's not calories. I'm talking about lowering your carbohydrates and sugars and start a 30-day program to reset your body. No carbs, no sugars. And then elevating, so one comes down and the other one goes way up, and that is animal protein and fat. When you do this, you bring your carbs and sugars down, you take away the stress on the kidneys. This is why the vast majority of people that get high blood pressure, stress can be a factor, but again, it's always with the diet. Bring the carbs down, bring the sugars down, replace those foods with eggs, meat, and cheese. Now, high blood pressure. Okay, so when you have high blood pressure, your body's going, hello, you there. High blood pressure is a symptom. It's a symptom. It's not, oh, I got high blood pressure and everything else in my body is good. No, it's not. You're a carbaholic. Put your hand up. My name is Tony and I'm a carbaholic. You know, some people get affected with high blood pressure. Some people, I've talked to you about, we spent 3 sessions talking to you about strange symptoms of insulin resistance. Acid reflux. Frequent urination. Kidneys. They rely on you. Don't feed them sugar. And it's not salt. Don't blame salt for what sugar does. You know, I get people coming into the office all the time. And they used to say to me, Doc, well, I don't have any salt. Do you have sugar? Oh, yeah. I said, well, that's the problem. It was never the salt. Salt got blamed for what sugar was doing. It's like blaming toast. Blaming bacon, when you have bacon and eggs and you say, oh, that's not good for me. Yeah, it's the toast that kill you, not the bacon and eggs. No, but seriously, guys. And then look at, okay? So all of it's food. Vitamin D, old age, put it off to the side. You can't help your old age. You're old. Can't help that. But you can sure help your immune system, obviously, because this is what they're saying. These are not my statistics. So, diabetes. Well, high blood pressure. But what diabetes? Well, that's food. Diabetes. If you're a diabetic, you have an allergy. Very simple. Diabetes isn't complicated. It's you got an allergy to sugars. It's that simple. It's not complicated. Diabetes is an allergy. Get rid of the cat. I told you the cat story, right? I always have to remember, you got some new people on, okay, in the audience, and I don't want to bore you with telling you the same story, but I always tell the same stories anyways. I'm like your crazy uncle at a party, right? True story. Lady comes into the office, true story. Severe allergies, coughing, barking, watery eyes, sneezing, all of it. I said, well, she's either got a bad cold or, she said, oh no, doc, I got allergies. I said, well, what are you allergic to? She said, my cat. I said, get rid of it. She said, I can't. I said, well, how can I help you? I can't help you with your allergies if you don't want to get rid of your cat. If you're a diabetic, every diabetic that I ever had, and I had thousands of them in my office, even I'd tell them the cat story. I said, you have an allergy now. And then they'd start the negotiations. I said, I don't negotiate with diabetes. It's terrorism. I don't negotiate with terrorists. You want to die? You're on the Titanic. Diabetes will end your life a lot earlier than you anticipate. For sure. I said, so you want to get off? Yeah. Well, you have an allergy then. Okay. What am I allergic to? Toast. Buns. Carbs. Pasta. Doc, are you kidding? I said, I'm not kidding. So, you see what I'm saying? Look at COVID. This is just even COVID. One is vitamin D, the other one is old age, and the other 5 out of 7 have everything to do with a deficiency, or you have actually diabetes. Selenium is, you know why we have so much a deficiency in selenium? Can I be political here a little bit? Because people are drinking the Kool-Aid of veganism and vegetarianism. They're drinking the Kool-Aid. They think it's good for them, and they think it's good for the planet. They think it's good for them, and they think it's good for the planet. No. It's not. It's not. I'm sorry to offend you. I hope you're not easily offended, because I offend. I don't care what the world tells you. I really don't. It's not true. You're meant to eat animal foods. And you ladies, with your chicken and salad, there's not a lot of selenium in chicken. There's certainly no zinc in it. Zinc's found in red meat, steak, vitamin S. I know. But imagine the top 7. Your relative risk of death of COVID. I tell you, it is the most incredible. Well, it's good news in a way too, isn't it? It's good news for you. You, before anyone else, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones if they'll listen. You can't always, you can bring a horse to water. You can't necessarily make them drink, right? Especially the young generation. I mean, they're taught this stuff at school. Don't eat anything but eyeballs. Ooh. Okay. Isn't that interesting? I'll post this, okay, guys? I'm going to post these things. But I want you to think about it. Share it. Share this teaching if you can. People that are screaming at you. Share this teaching. Have I become your enemy because I told you the truth? No, I know that. You're my audience. I love you guys. Okay, tomorrow, not too late to send in your questions. Tomorrow's question and answer Friday. Okay, so tomorrow morning questions. Okay, you guys are great. We love you. Share this, please. Share it. And, you know, if you haven't got a copy of our book, please get a copy of it. It's going to be, it's just about sold out. Incredible. Okay, we love you for it. Thank you.